Sometimes I'll have a ranked match or a session of ranked, and I'll think, man, I don't even know what happened, or I had a bad session. Maybe I jumped a certain way, I jumped too much, or I anti-aired at the wrong time, or, I lost the same way across 3 different matches. And at the end of the session, it feels like your hands are, they're playing against your brain. And you know what it is? It's probably because I was playing on autopilot. And I know some of the newer players, they probably play on autopilot as well. And these are one of the biggest reasons why players don't improve. So let's talk about it. What is autopilot? So autopilot is basically when you make decisions out of habit, of basically out of reaction, and not actually reacting to what's happening. So you're autopilot. So you're basically doing things out of a habit instead of being proactive, or at the very least reactive to what's actually happening. So you're not adapting, you're not observing of what's going on. You're simply just running on instinct, or you're just running the same game plan and hoping that you win. And to be honest, that's not the way how you get your wins, basically, right? It's basically like you're saying, your brain is telling you that this worked before, so I'm just gonna keep doing it, and it clearly doesn't work, especially as you get higher and higher in the elos. So say for example, right, I go to work every day, I come home every day, and I never really think about the route that I take because I do it every day, right? I'm basically on autopilot. Sometimes, especially when you're tired, you'll drive to a certain place that you've driven to like, a million times, and sometimes you realize, hey, man, how did I even get here? Because your brain subconsciously knows the routes, knows the turns, knows the stoplights, knows the speed that you go to. So it's basically autopilot. You're not thinking about what you're actually doing. You're just going with the flow. So autopilot works a lot in fighting games as well. So like, for instance, I would say my habit is that, on Oki, like if the opponent gives me Oki, if I don't think, I'll want a YOLO DP, ODDP. Or sometimes I'll do, with Akuma, I'll do standing heavy kick, the target combo, I forgot what it's called, but it's like medium punch, and then I'll do heavy tatsu, right? But sometimes if the opponent catches my pattern, they might stop me after I do my medium punch target combo, right? Stuff like that. Like, you gotta be aware of the opponent catching on to your patterns, or you just in general using buttons that are much slower that the opponent can that are much slower that the opponent can react with a faster button. Can't talk today. But the moment and basically, as I said before, the moment the opponent recognizes your pattern, you're pretty much cooked. So fighting games are not about executing your plan. It's more about adapting to a set plan, right? Because every opponent is different. Every opponent has a different skill level. Some might anti-air every jump, some might never anti-air, some might mash on defense, some might, YOLO DP like I do. Some opponents might turtle until the end of time, so you have to adapt your plan, right? So basically, you can't use the same strategy on every opponent because everyone is different. So it's not about fighting you, it's about fighting your habits, right? So I'll give another example. Like, say you're playing poker, right? And every single time you get a decent hand, you raise. Every single time. Eventually the players are going to catch on, and then they're going to know what you're doing, and then basically, you're going to lose that game. So I think one of the reasons why beginners like me fall into the habit of autopilot is because you're new to the game in general. Like, you get a little combo down pat and it works for like, I don't know, 60% of the games that you play, and then you just keep on using it until it becomes ingrained in you. So it's a habit that you keep on doing because it works. Because you got to remember, as a new player, such as myself, I'm not used to the heavy mental stack of, reading the opponent's patterns, spacing, my target combos, my, supers, my optimal, combo routes. Like, I don't know a lot of these things still. I'm still using pretty much bread and butter stuff, blocking and just hoping I can whiff. That's pretty much my game plan, right? So it's like the more autopilot you are, the more that you become predictable, and that's just pretty much an L on your part. So you gotta really look at your gameplay. and, you know, review it, and you got to ask yourself this certain questions after every match. It's like, did I jump too much? Did I wake up with the same button? Do I keep on pressing the same button? Do I, you know, after my target combo, after I Oki, do I do the same thing that the opponent can, you know, steal back turn from me? And if you're saying yes to the same questions, that means you're not adapting, you're just reacting, you're repeating the same things. And that's how you stay in the same elo. So one of the things, or a couple of things that I'm doing is, you know, reviewing my matches, seeing where I can improve. I also try to learn from higher player or pro player FGC guys that use my character, like Lashar or Daigo, and try to learn what they do, try to look at their mix-ups, try to see how they use their character's kit to the optimal level, right? And basically, that's how you break autopilot. It's about reading everything, not just going with the motion. So another solution, I should say, that you can use is that you pretty much tell yourself, I'm only allowed to jump once it's rounded, or no wake up DP. So you're pretty much like taking yourself out of a habit, right? For example, another habit that I do is that sometimes I will do the standing heavy kick into the medium punch target combo, and then I'll do the medium tatsu. And a lot of the times, because the medium tatsu for Akuma is so high, people can duck under it and then just whiff punish me badly. So that's something that, you know, I can train myself out of not doing, or consciously like say, hey, I need to stop doing that, right? And my final thoughts on this is that, you know, autopilot just feels comfortable. As a newer player, you're not knowing what you're doing, you're still, you haven't developed that mentality, you haven't developed that mindset of, you know, adapting, of trying to use your game plan, but adapting to the player that you're playing against, right? Your opponent. So autopilot feels comfortable, but comfortable does not make you get better. Awareness and adaptability does. So the next time you lose a match, you don't ask, what combo should I learn? You ask yourself, did I actually adapt? Because in fighting games, the player who changes first usually wins. The player who refuses to change is the one that keeps on making mistakes and keep on taking those L's. So that's all I have for today, guys. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.